Julian, great to have you on the podcast. How are you today?
Doing great, Jared. Happy to be here.
Let's kick things off. So quickly tell us a little bit about your background and then give us the overview of this really cool company that you're building here today.
Yeah, happy to jump in there. So I'm Julian Rowlands. I'm the founder and CEO of Cashboard. Cashboard is a combination of BI and analytics for finance teams, as well as AI that actually does the work of FP&A analysts automatically for you. Before this, I was a CFO of a couple different businesses, including Spruce, which got sold to Zillow a year or so back, and then Zendit before that. Zendit's like Stripe for Southeast Asia. So I was working for them in Jakarta. I was with them for a year and a half, helped them raise the Series B, scaled from 70 to 250 people. Now they're, I think, 600 or 700. They're doing incredibly well. They're in a ton of other countries. And yeah, and before that, I spent 4 years doing data systems consulting for hedge funds. So kind of the origin story for Cashboard as well. Have sort of a unique background. Not the best CFO in the world, not the best data engineer or anything in the world, but I think there's one of me, right? There's one person that has that distinct overlap between understanding data systems incredibly well, and also having been a CFO. So that's kind of the backstory for Cashboard.
I love it. Great name, by the way. I mean, I know businesses are more than a name, but it does help when you have a cool name, for sure. I would love to talk a little bit about essentially what you've done is inventing the Solo CFO, right? Tell me a little bit more about that. That was something, before the episode that you and I kind of went back and forth on. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that and go from there. Let's start with there.
Yeah. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about my experience as a CFO and what that looked like and why I had to hire and when I sort of ran out of time to do things myself. And then talk a bit about what AI is capable of, and then talk about how we're applying that to invent the Solo CFO. And I should call it that's our North Star. We've not done it yet. We're maybe 30-40% of the way there. And I'm very, very excited, and our customers are really excited about what we built so far. But yeah, I should call it that we're not fully there yet. So but the future's bright. So when I was a CFO, so I generally joined around like 78 employees and scaled up through a couple hundred people, Series B, Series C stage or something like that. I've got a couple different jobs in there, right? Like understand the business really well, inform people how the business is performing. And people includes like the board, department leaders, the CEO, the founders, different VPs and all that. And then build really good guesses for what the future looks like. That means modeling, scenario forecasting, and work with the entire business to formalize, a final plan, a very, very, very clear sort of execution path for how we're going to hit our big goals, right? And I'm simplifying quite a bit on a lot of things. Every CFO's job kind of looks different. Some people are running the real estate team too. Some people are running a bunch of different stuff. But I think at a high level, that's a pretty good synthesis of the goals. And so pretty straightforward, right? And so when I was a CFO, like one of the problems you run into is like, let's focus on the analysis piece. I think in there, I'll kind of exclude the forecasting and the scenario planning and the modeling piece. But on the analysis component, my data was sitting in a ton of different systems. It was sitting in Salesforce, it was sitting in NetSuite, it was sitting in my payroll system, it was sitting in my budget. It was sitting in that one random Google sheet that I have that has that super important slice of data. Everyone has that one Google sheet. And to understand the data, I had to combine like all those different like data points in a single spot. Excel's usually the default. At a certain point, people often like start to invest in something like Power BI or something to pipe all their data in. And that's a huge pain. My data labels are always different. I have to constantly pull in fresh data because that's the whole point, right? Have the latest vision. I have to put that together into all the latest charts. I have to send it out to people, and I have to, have a narrative around that. And that takes a ton of time. It's super manual. There's nothing that's handling those data workflows. And yeah, so that's a common reason why I had to hire when I was a CFO is I had to go pay people to essentially do that for me, right? I would run out of time for execution. And so what we're building at Cashboard is actually something that we always have the source of truth because we connect all the different data points. We use AI-powered data mapping to make sure the data labels are always up to date. It's a full BI tool. It's a full replacement for something like Power BI, but purpose-built for CFOs. And we get people there really, really quickly. And then what's really exciting for me is we actually have AI writing reports for you and sending them out whenever you want on autopilot. So you don't have to be awake, right? So we think the path to inventing the Solo CFO, you have to do a lot of different things there. You have to use AI to turbocharge the analysis and make it so that can run on autopilot. You have to do the same thing for budgeting, same thing for modeling. We've been laser focused on the, the analytics and BI piece and the understanding the business and inform people about it. And yeah, we basically used AI to do the job that I used to personally have to hire for. So that was a pretty long answer.
No, no, that
I'll
was
say.
awesome. And by the way, I really appreciate you for providing that additional transparency that, this solo CFO is something you're building. I feel like this has always kind of been the case, but especially in this AI world that we live in, everyone's talking about all these solutions as if they're already here today. And I appreciate when you're like, we are building towards it and then we're getting close.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure your customers really appreciate that too. Um, so kudos
Jared,
to you.
if I hear one more person say their product is infused with AI, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like
If I
this,
hear one person say in 6 months, though, like the amount of like things, it's in 6 months, we won't need this at all. In
yeah,
6 months, we won't need this I hear that in 6 months, we'll never need another developer. I hear that all the time now, and it's
yeah,
like crazy. Yeah.
super
Um,
frustrating.
what do you think the future of like anyone that's doing FP&A, like, what do you think the future looks like for them? Like how, so let's say you build this solo CFO, like how does this impact the space as a whole, or how will it, I guess?
Yeah, this is something I spend a lot of time on. And maybe I'll talk a bit about what AI can do, what it can't do, and then how I see the job changing. And like a big question mark for me is, what does the path to becoming a CFO look like in this AI world, right? And so on the AI piece, AI is great for synthesizing data. It's great for executing different workflows and even making some like very, very like small decisions here and there, the agentic stuff. But it doesn't have wisdom, right? It doesn't have experience. It has knowledge, it has data, but it doesn't have experience. And there's a subtle difference there, right? And so you never want AI to be your CFO, at least, until AGI, and then at which case, I welcome our AGI overlords. But so see, I think we're going to a place where human CFOs will be using AI to execute, like handle the execution piece, right? You're not going to hire AI for decision making, but you're going to hire AI for execution. That means, pulling together analysis, sharing write-ups, running reporting for you. I think doing like the first drafts with a couple of rough drafts or something on different things. But you still want a human in the loop, actually, like looking at that data, signing off on things, saying like, hey, wait, no, let me send that back to the agent for another take. Or quite frankly, probably even pulling stuff out into Excel to do the final touches, right? And so where I think that takes us is to a place where, and this kind of ties to the vision around inventing the solo CFO, where we're not there yet, but in a year, maybe 18 months or something, a single smart CFO should be able to run an entire like FP&A function for a mid-sized business. And then maybe a year after that, we'll see that like happen for enterprise as well. I mean, that might be a lot longer, but there's a lot of complexity there. And so, yeah, that's a pretty exciting vision. And obviously, there's a long way to go before then, no matter how many things are infused with AI at the moment. But so there's kind of a scary question there, right? Where like how does someone become a CFO in this future where the sort of execution focused apprenticeship is no longer the path towards that, right? In the past, like someone would start as an FP&A associate and they're essentially just like executing what the FP&A manager or the CFO tells them to do. They work their way up, they're in the room as the CFO or the manager is presenting the data, they have to learn from that. And then, over time they get those promotions, they become a director, they become a VP, they become a CFO. Very, very clear, obvious path forward. So what happens when AI is doing all the execution work, right? What happens in this solo CFO world? I don't have perfect confidence in this. Like I'm not gonna claim I understand the future, but I think my best guess is that it's gonna look a lot like RevOps in a CRO's industry, like business group, right? Where you've got people who are in charge of making sure all the machines are, hooked together properly, running properly, are getting the right data out of it, are ensuring the whole system is flowing together really, really well. And I think my expectation is we'll see those roles in the CFO suite. People who are in charge of making sure that all the data flows in properly, the data model's right, the data mapping is happening properly, and everything is functioning like as desired. And I think that'll be the sort of junior level role in a finance function that will then become the path into becoming a CFO. So, yeah.
So when what it kind of reminds me of is, you were talking about the RevOps space. When I hear in the technology space a lot is in the future, a lot of developers are going to be like human resources in making sure the models are saying the right things and are executing the right code. So it sounds similar to kind of that take. Do you think, like, I guess, how do we better prepare these people for that potential role? This is the thing I'm kind of the most critical with on certain things of AI. We always talk about people can slide into different areas, but that's not something that just like, you snap your fingers and it happens. Like, what do you think that transition looks like, and what skills will be the most important for those people that want to get into this kind of, rev op like role?
This is such a good question. And I should caveat by saying I have no idea. I've so little certainty on this, but I can let me zoom into the things that I do feel some confidence in. So what is this AI powered like workflow platform that's doing the work that a whole FP&A team used to do? It is connecting all your data sources. It's pulling all that into a single source of truth. It's combining the data labels and making sure you have unified data definitions, essentially like what a developer would call primary and foreign keys across your like relational data sets. You can actually run joins and things like that and have apples to apples comparisons. And then it's, running the whole reporting function for you. It's, everything I just described is what Cashboard does now. But in the future, we'll also have tools that, build budgets for people and build forecasts and build models and things like that. I don't think we're ever going to be in the business of building your board deck for you. Like if you're letting AI build your board deck, you've got bigger problems, I think. But essentially running all of that for people, like, and so I think the core things that making sure that you can trust the platform really well really come down to knowing your data super well, understanding how a data system flows, understanding the guts of it, understanding all the core components of exactly what the AI workflows are doing, right? So knowing a bit more than just plugging data into ChatGPT and asking like a series of prompts in a chat interface. And so I think data fluency is the main thing I would say. And to simplify that a little bit more, I think having at least a introductory understanding of SQL, understanding exactly how all these data joins work, being able to look at a data model and understanding, by data model I mean a cleaned data table that pulls from all the raw tables that sit under NetSuite and Salesforce and stuff like that. I think if you're going to get the most out of AI, you really need to know exactly what's happening within your data workflows and your data system. And otherwise, if you don't have that, then you're kind of guessing, kind of hoping it's doing exactly what you think you're doing. And so I think just understanding data systems is going to be pretty key. And then there's a ton of finance people out there that have, a double major in, finance and like management information systems or something like this. So this is not necessarily like a rare breed at all. But I think it's just gonna become more and more important, right? And if you do that really well, if you understand your data really well, if you have it ever configured perfectly, and you have really clear control and understanding around all those systems and those data points, then you'll be able to get the most out of AI. And like the less you have that, like the more either things will be functioning in a black box, or you won't trust enough to get any automation at all out of it. So knowing the data, knowing data systems, I think is the key thing.
What stages, when it comes to Cashboard, what stage for each company do you like to kind of work with? Like, is there a sweet spot for company stage that in their life cycle that makes sense for you to work with, or is it really any type of organization you're open to working with?
Appreciate you asking. So we solve complexity. If you are a very small business, if you're 5 people, if like, you as the founder have all the data in your head and you kind of know what the bank account balance is, you kind of know what your sales are, you know every customer by name, you do not need our product, right? We solve the issue that you get to where you get to a certain scale and some of your data is in Salesforce, some of your data is in, or HubSpot or something. Some of your data is in NetSuite or QuickBooks. Some of your data is in, a spreadsheet somewhere for your budget or other things. Some of your data is in your payroll system. And all of a sudden it's super critical to understand the entire business in a single pane of glass, right? And have your single source of truth. And you need different decision makers across the business to be informed really easily, right? So single source of truth, pulling from all your systems, that's always live. And then actually having the single source of truth actually like push updates and narratives and reports out to people with a freshly written piece of analysis from the AI. So yeah, like if you're an early stage company, you don't really need us. I'd say a lot of our customers are 15, 20 million in top line. We've got some that are smaller but growing really, really fast, where the complexity is really scaling up at an exponential rate. And yeah, so I would say if you're using the private equity lingo, private equity people would say middle market businesses. Yeah, so that's where we're focused now. We plan on going up to enterprise and larger cap and all that at some point in the future, but right now we're laser focused on solving this like systems complexity and data complexity. and enabling the solo CFO, at least on the analytics and reporting piece to start with, for mid-market businesses.
Julian, what's something you know now that you wish you knew when you were first starting the company?
Oh man, that is such a good question.
It's tough because there's probably several things, right? Like it's hindsight is very powerful.
Yeah, I think I have. This is my first time ever starting a startup, and it's we're at a place where it's really clicking. We're adding customers every month. It's going really well. Um, the product is, we see the whites of people's eyes when we demo for people. There's a real wow factor that, like, when people see something they've never seen before, that actually does transform their job. And so everything's going great, but I think I thought it was going to be pretty hard to build something from scratch, and it was so much harder than I necessarily expected to be. Despite having been in these boardrooms, despite having seen these incredible founders at places like Spruce and Zendit build these incredible businesses. So I think I saw a tweet from one of the Collisons about how a thing they've come to appreciate is how much every single business, every single thing has taken so much work to build. I think the exact quote was like, the world's a museum of passion projects or something like that. And yeah, now that I've seen what it takes to build something and get that growth trajectory, I'm like, I think I've, there's a bit more wonder in my eyes when I see people, running a bakery or something, or running a coffee shop, or running anything. It has been so hard to build this world. And yeah, so that's a big thing.
As we wrap up here, what's next for Cashboard?
Continue to march towards inventing the solo CFO. So working with more middle market businesses to help automate their FP&A using AI, and continue to move in that direction. We've got some others and some pretty big stuff we're working on that I'm excited to unveil in a little bit. But yeah, just pushing forward and continue to build this thing.
Love it. Well, definitely keep us up to date when any of these announcements come out. We'd love to reshare it and amplify it. And I'm glad that we were able to meet. We'll continue to be a fan of what you're building and watch these updates as they come out. But thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for everything, Jared. This was amazing. Really appreciate the time.